February 3rd, 2022 Cumberland County Commissioners Workshop meeting. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. and at this time I open up the floor to public comments. No one is on. Hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on then to agenda item number 3, and I call on Tammy Hershey to discuss contracts and grants.
Thank you, Stacy. Agenda item number 3, numeral 1, is existing contracts, contract extensions, or addenda with no additional cost or increase to the county for children and youth, GIS, MHIDD, public safety, prison, and public safety. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding any of these agreements?
No.
Hearing none, we will move on to agenda item number 3, numeral 2, which consists of new contracts, vendors, services, grants, and contracts with increases or decreases to the county. I'll begin by calling on Kim Winton to discuss the contracts for aging. Kim.
Hi, good morning. United Disability Services is a pass-through funding for Aging and Disability Resource Center services. Golden Hearts provides home support and personal care to eligible seniors in the county. And Jesus Love You is an addendum to terminate the contract due to the King's Kettle Food Pantry closing in Shippensburg as of December 31st, 2021.
Questions for Kim? Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Jamie River was not able to attend, but has provided information for discussion on the contracts for children and youth. So I will review those now. The first is Affinity Forensic Services. Infiniti provides foster care level services for sexual offenders who have completed treatment. They are increasing 3 of their rates, Tier A by 10.10%, Tier C by 10.25%, and Tier E by 9.8%. Their initial rate increase request was higher than the state maximum allowable at over 13% for each level. However, after negotiation, they agreed to lower the increases, keeping them at the state maximum allowable rate. They are contributing their need to increased rates due to increasing salaries and benefits to maintain competent staff and remain competitive. A rise in occupancy and utilities, an increase in travel costs, higher liability insurance premiums, increase in administrative time and consulting fees to meet these new mandates, additional equipment to enhance services, and additional training opportunities to increase outcomes, facility upgrades for safety and comfort of clients and staff. The Devereaux Foundation provides residential and therapeutic foster care. Devereaux is requesting 3% increases to their treatment foster care for ages 13 and over and their IDD programs. Devereaux has made multiple enhancements to their programs to include, but not limited to, facility and safety improvements, increase in staffing and multiple COVID mitigation efforts, as well as support for employees and clients. Perseus House is a new provider. They provide shelter for males and females, which is desperately needed, as well as residential services for females. Their rates are below the state maximum allowable. And Child First Services provides group home for one specific client with special needs. There is just a minor change to their rates. The special rate is increasing by 12 cents, and the one-on-one supervision is decreasing by 12 cents. This was their intention last year. However, the state originally approved their special rate lower, but it has since increased it. Do you have any questions that you would like me to follow up with Jamie on?
No.
All right. I will now call on Ron Snow to discuss the CNRC contract. Ron?
Good morning, Commissioners. We're asking for approval on a contract with RKL Advisors. This is to prepare the 2021 Medicare and Medicaid cost reports for Claremont. The cost is $6,350.
Questions for Ron? Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Next, I will call on Lori Glaze to discuss the grant for Conservation District. Lori?
Morning. Good morning, commissioners. We have the opportunity to write another grant for non-point source pollution education, and we were going to partner with Upper Allen Township to redo 2 of their stormwater swales in front of their township building. It would include a workshop. We are asking for $2,000 for supplies for plants to replant those stormwater swales and some educational signage. No county money will be used for the grant.
Thank you, Lori. Any further questions? Lori? Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
I will now call on Kirk Stoner to discuss the contracts for liquid fuels finance. Kirk?
Sure. Good morning, commissioners. The first one is a proposal from HRG for $2,500. This would be for them to do an initial assessment and prioritization of municipal bridges that we inspect. This will be a first step in helping us scope out what we need to do on our phase 2 $5 registration fee funding program that we discussed at our finance meeting 2 weeks ago. So this will set up all those bridges into a prioritization matrix similar to what we did for our bridge capital improvement program for our county-owned bridges. Questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, second item there is we're closing out Kunkel Bridge. As you recall, we completed this project last summer. We're doing final balancing of all our materials and the adds and deducts from the contract. So we have overall change orders for the entire project of totaling $57,000. This is all covered under our bridge capital improvement program, will enable us to close out the project.
Questions for Kirk on that? Kirk, thank you. While we have you, would you please continue on with discussing agenda item number 4 at this time?
Oh, sure. So we opened bids for our bridge bundle project. This is our last project for our capital bridge improvement program. So kind of exciting time. As you recall, we put together 3 bridges into one bundle and bid them together. The low bidder was JVI Group at about $2.2 million. That was a savings of about $400,000 from our engineer's estimate. So we look at the average of all the bids, they're around 2.6, which was very close to our engineer's estimate. We did have a low bidder of 2.2, so very happy with that. And that savings can enable us to do more with our remaining projects and also looking ahead with the phase 2 program that we've already discussed. So on Monday, we'd be looking for authority to formally award the bid to JVI, and also for approval for me to work with our solicitor to review and execute all the contract documents for the project, and then submit a notice to proceed to JVI.
Questions for Kirk, commissioners?
Kirk, Vince here. When do you anticipate that the final county bridges will be done? Another year or 2?
Yeah, so the bridge bundle, Vince, will be done, next fall. And then there's a couple there's one other one we're working with on York County, and that'll be done next fall or the following year. But then all of our county bridges will be done. So everything is in process now. We really don't have any structurally deficient bridges that are remaining out there for us.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk.
Thank you.
Next, I will call on Sue Carball to discuss the contracts for MHIDD. Sue?
Yes, good morning, everyone. We have 2 contracts on the agenda this morning. The first one is an ID contract. We will be contracting with Sandra Bowen, who is a social worker. She will be serving as our independent living specialist. She will be conducting skill assessments during independent living plans, teaching skills. She will also be supporting families through a transition such as independent living. We have had a much greater need for these services. We have used Cindy Vereen's in the past. She retired, so we have hired Sandra to take her place. The second contract is a mental health contract. It's really a grant that we are asking for acceptance of. Annie wrote a grant to PCCD to help support the crisis intervention training that she does with police officers and 911 operators. The grant is for $46,410, and it will be covering all the training costs. Any questions?
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
I will now call on Claudia Gardner to discuss the grant for public safety. Claudia?
Good morning, everyone. We're asking for your approval to receive the grant agreement from Pennsylvania Emergency Management Association for $5,262. That is from the 911 Uniform Fund, the Interconnectivity Grant funding. Dauphin County, as you know, serves as a fiduciary county for the task force region, and they applied for this on behalf of us. This is to cover 2 uninterruptible power supply units for the 911 system. It has a performance period of October 28th, 21 through December 31 of 2022. And it will be used to purchase those 2 units, and that will satisfy the PSAP facility requirements section in the NG 911 environment.
Questions for Claudia? Thank you, Claudia.
Have a good day.
Next, I will call on Justin Miller to discuss the grant for recycling and waste. Justin?
Good morning, Commissioners. So I brought back my original screen background for you here
There
today.
you go. You're a worldly man.
So what we have here is the annual recycling coordinator reimbursement grant. The state does reimburse counties 50% of the costs of a recycling coordinator. It's always for the previous calendar year. So we have an application that includes costs, salaries, benefits, other expenses. It's due by the end of April, so we're in good shape here to get this in. Total amount I'm estimating is $49,031.72. Any questions?
Question? Yeah, thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
That concludes the contracts and grants. So I'll now turn the meeting back over to Susie.
Thank you, Tammy. So we've already covered agenda item number 4, so we'll move then to agenda item number 5, and I'll call on Eric Radovich to discuss the credit application. Eric, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. It's a credit application for up to $5,000 for a company called TCAN. They supply columns for our GC mass specs, and we're able to get them cheaper than we are through Fisher. So we wanted to open up a line of credit with these folks and buy from them when it's applicable.
Any questions for Eric? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks,
We'll
folks.
move then to agenda item number 6. And this is actually a reappointment recommendation by the Cumberland County Municipal Authority for Mike Sider. His term on the authority expired on December 31st, and they are requesting his reappointment for a 4-year term. And that would commence not on January 1st, that would commence on Monday's date, so that would be February 7th. And it would expire on December 31, 2025. So I will tell you that my own personal experience with Mike is that he has been very active with the authority. He has been very keen on getting involved in the community. And so I would emphasize what we have received as this recommendation, that I think it's an excellent recommendation. Any questions, Commissioners? Thank you. We'll move on then to agenda item number 7, which is discussion of capital project requests. And we'll start with a request from IMTO, and I'll call on Mark Adams. Mark.
Good morning, Commissioners. Last year, you approved a capital project for the wireless wide area network in the amount of $140,000. We've gone through some of the redesign of that project and realized that we need to have some additional redundancy out at Rittner Highway at those buildings. And so we're asking for an additional $56,000 added to that project. It is a 5-year project, but it would include some equipment and implementation, and then the annual maintenance for the 5 years. So all in all, the new capital project request is $196,000.
Any questions for Mark? Okay, thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
And we have two projects actually that Brent Durham is here to discuss for facilities. Brent.
Good morning, everyone. The first one, this capital request is in the amount of $100,000. It's to replace the fire panel along with smoke and heat detectors in the Dennis Marion building. The fire system it's in this building was installed in 1994. I believe was part of the renovation in addition to the old bank building. The model of this fire panel has been out of production since 1997. The circuit boards within the panel are obsolete, no longer available, and we can no longer do programming to the panel. When doing this replacement, we must also replace all the smoke and heat detectors. The UL made some sweeping code changes with detectors that was to go in effect in 2020. It was then extended to 2021, now 2022. With the code changes, the biggest thing they targeted was nuisance alarms. The UL determined the number one reason detectors were removed in residence and commercial buildings was due to false alarms. The new detectors, they have advanced and multiple sensors in them. They can run algorithms. They can differentiate, for example, between cooking smoke and a smoldering fire. Because of this code change and the fact that single sensor detectors like we have now will no longer be manufactured after May of this year, is why when we replace the panel, we will have no choice but to replace the detectors as well. Any questions on that? Okay, moving on, the next request, this is for the old courthouse, historic courthouse, where we're asking for $125,000 to make some significant amount of repairs there. We would like to replace the carpeting on the first floor and the back section of the second floor. This carpeting is very old, it's torn, it's worn, it's rolling in places causing potential trip hazards, and it really is just in a state of disrepair. We will be using the Mohawk brand square carpet tile like we've been using everywhere else, as that comes with a limited lifetime commercial warranty. We're estimating that about 60% of the cost of these funds will be allocated to the needed flooring. We also would like to repair a significant amount of plaster. Over the last 10 years or so, we've repaired plaster at the entrance, up the front stairway walls. We've done several offices on the left. We've done the rear stairway. Right now, we have 6 offices that are in need of substantial repair before the plaster gets any worse, and we will start with them. At the same time, we'll be evaluating all the plaster within the building and targeting any areas of concern that we may find. Just to be clear, I don't want to give the impression that we're proposing, but what we're proposing is going to take care of every crack in that building. It's simply to make significant progress on the worst areas and at the same time take care of any areas of concern to keep the building in good repair. Any questions on that?
Brent, I'll just say, I think what you said when we met about this project last week, I think the perfect way of saying it. You're not trying to make this building look new. You're still trying to make it look historic. You just want to maintain it, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. As always, very thorough.
Thank you.
We'll move on then to the last capital project request, which is from our elections director, who is here with us. So I'll call Bethany Salzarulo.
Good morning, commissioners. As you know, being part of the Board of Elections, we have been in an agreement with the Department of Justice since 2018, and we're at the final stages of that. So this is sort of the total project cost of all the temporary measures that we'll be putting in place at each polling place to make it compliant for the day, and also the cost of moving some locations, which we've already done, and we'll have to move a few more coming up. And then also the additional staffing we'll need to support some of the ADA compliance needs of each polling place.
Any questions for Bethany? Thank you so much on this rainy day coming to see us. Okay, we'll move on then to agenda item number 8, and that is Commissioner's Liaison Reports. And so I'll start by calling on Commissioner Eichelberger.
Okay, just a handful of items. Let's see. Justin gave us a quick update that was relevant. The only other thing there was we did receive notice of the approval of reimbursement for one of the grants. Stacy.
Section 902.
Section 902 grant. All right. And that's the equipment grant.
I believe so,
Yeah,
yes.
For the long yard waste.
I believe we were awarded the full amount.
Yes, we were. So I assume he knows that, but he didn't mention it. So just thought I'd bring that up. Let's see. The only other things I have is been a lot going on with Katie, of course. Continuing to provide some support for Mr. Chickatannen, who's assumed the top management role there. Did receive one of the resumes for a recommended board seat, and once we get the whole packet together, we'll certainly distribute that. I don't think anybody else received it yet. The board chair just sent it to me. I don't know why, but so we will have those soon, so we can make sure that these seats don't sit vacant for very long. And let's see, the executive committee will be undertaking the first phase of the revised beginning program. That will be next week. I've been providing some support there with gathering of the historical documentation and things, so board members are prepared. That's the pre-work phase before the discussion. And the other major thing at CADIC, of course, is the workforce development task force that was appointed. We had our first official meeting on Monday, and that was, of course, the members of the committee, as well as Jesse McCrae from the South Central PA Works, which is the Workforce Investment Board. And he outlined for us a broad palette of dollars and programming support that are coming down the pike in this. So we're going to start getting our arms around that and whittling that down to what are the things that may work best to be implemented into the plan. So I had a follow-up meeting on that on Tuesday as well. That's going to move pretty rapidly, and I have to say it's a pretty exciting thing to be part of. It's something that's highly impactful to the county, potential to be long-term impactful. We've got great people at the table. We're very fortunate that the folks who are engaged are just get it done people and get it done right people. So I'm pretty enthusiastic about where that's going. We'll have more reported out before too much longer. Only other item was that I did take a little time and put together an endorsement letter for our own Stacy Snyder, who's applying for the CCAP Center of Excellence program. And I don't know what the time frame is on when they will render that, but
The end of February.
End of February. Okay, that's great. We've only ever had one employee that I'm aware of that went through that program, and it's a terrific program. And I think they're going to learn as much from Stacy as she will from them. So hopefully, we'll get the approval on that. So I think that's everything I have.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cox.
Good morning, Cumberland County. I'll start out with the always reminder to use the Cumberland County Library System. On January 25th, the Children and Youth Citizens Advisory Board met, and we met in a special session where Elise Kloss and Daniel Drakbar discussed the in-home services unit with us and what that unit does, and that was a fantastic conversation. On 126, I attended the legislative forum given by CREDIC, and that was enlightening. Dauphin County, Perry County, and Cumberland County legislators were there, and their focus was on the upcoming governor's budget, as well as regulation. And they talked a lot about regulations that were suspended during COVID and how that has been very helpful for many industries and how they'd like to keep the suspension of some of those regulations to make things better for the workforce. So I thought that was very interesting. The January 26th point in time count of homeless people in Cumberland County has been rescheduled to the end of February because of COVID. So there is still time to volunteer to do that if you would like to. That is on my calendar. On January 31st, I met with Laurel Spagnolo and Manel El Harak, who is the executive director of Sadler Health Center. They wanted to talk to me about all the fabulous things Sadler is doing and the availability of ARP funds, and I sent them both to Toby Faber and Stacy Snyder. So that's a good thing to keep an eye on. And of course, Sadler is opening the new location in Mechanicsburg, which will serve a tremendous number of residents of Mechanicsburg and the surrounding area. Yesterday, I went to junior leadership, and oh my goodness, what a fabulous time. The kids in junior leadership, all juniors in Cumberland County and high schools in Cumberland County, they asked some of the most compelling, thoughtful, and thought-provoking questions that I have ever heard. So it was good to be there. with other elected officials, including our Auditor General, Mr. DeFore, and Judge Seibert was there, and a member of the Cumberland Valley School Board. So that was a really good event. February 1, the CCAP Human Services Committee met, and CCAP mentioned this was really great, and this is the work of our own Nikki McElwee. CCAP mentioned that John Rubin, the Deputy Secretary of Children and Youth, made it very clear that he would be meeting with Representative Cheryl Delosier regarding complex cases in the children and youth system. And that is the work of Nikki McElwee and how she sat down with Representative Delosier and spelled out those issues. So I've already told Nikki what a fabulous job I thought she has done with that, but that really is a beautiful win for us.
And I think not to interrupt, because
Yes.
Annie Strike and Sue Harbaugh were also part of that initiative.
Okay, well, there you go. I mean, there's the dream team, you know, they're just doing fabulous work for the people of Cumberland County. Here's something to keep on our radar. And you know, Stacy, I had not heard any of this. And what we got during this committee meeting was this tidbit that makes me wonder what else is coming and if there's seriousness about this. But the Deputy Secretary of the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services, Kristen Hauser, she showed up for about a half hour to do a presentation on the national 3-digit 988 program. So this would be like calling 911 or 211, but this you call 988 if you were in crisis. And some of it would be served for suicide prevention, but there's federal dollars for it. It is a federal program. You'd have until September or until next summer to institute this program. So I'm looking for more information about it.
This is actually on our long-term list for a meeting.
Okay.
Both Mike Snyder and Annie Strike have been working on that, and they will, once they have some strong and firm information, they'll be coming to share it.
Wonderful, because that was what was missing, strong and firm information, and as well as here, you know, it was kind of like, here's a program, you're gonna have to do it. Very little information and no idea how it, you know, it's really going to be funded. So I'm glad that's on the list. That's awesome. Two of the things that we talked about at that Human Services Committee being that there's two legislative priorities, one being the adequate funding of mental health services and the other being the adequate funding of children and youth and family services and ways to get that adequate funding. So there's more coming on that. That was a very good meeting, and George Hardwick of the Dauphin County Commissioner is the chair of that committee, so it's always nice to see him. Yesterday, Grace Dunnigan sent us an update from the governor's office, and yesterday the governor announced a $1.7 billion action plan that does a variety of things, but there were two that really stuck out as being interesting. One is $500 million for the PA Opportunity Program to provide much needed relief to workers and families from the high cost of childcare and household expenses, while providing opportunities to complete a degree, credential, or license to strengthen their skills and increase income for a better quality of life. I am very anxious to see what that program is going to look like and how that will be rolled out. If that seems like that could really be a wonderful program for residents of Cumberland County and for the workforce. And the other one was $450 million for conservation, recreation, and preservation, with new funding for the Agricultural Conservation Assistance Program and the Agricultural Conservation Excellence Grant Program to make Pennsylvania's agricultural sector more resilient in the face of record rainfall and extreme weather events. So there's other things in this particular action plan, but those were two that really stood out to me as being very interesting. And that is all I have.
Right, and I will say that list was also sent to Toby Bobber and all of our subject matter experts who are working on programs so that we can dovetail our initiatives for our, instead of duplicating any programs.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner DeFilippo.
Yes, Conservation District met on January 25th. The college scholarships applications were approved at the meeting, and that included the Wilbur Wolfe Scholarship. And just a reminder, funding for these scholarships is produced from the yearly golf tournaments. As Laurie Glace mentioned, the PA Conservation District mini grant was given to Upper Allen Township for a rain garden workshop. No county funds involved here. This is a partnership with the Cumberland County Conservation District, Upper Allen Township, and the Penn State Extension to provide a 2-hour workshop and also provide participants the opportunity to help plant the remaining 2 stormwater swales at the Upper Allen Township's parking lot. The cover crop program, the maximum acreage was increased from 30 to 50 acres per applicant. The nutrient management program, Cumberland County is doing quite well compared to some of our neighboring counties. We now have 7,000 acres involved in the program, and that number is growing. And the annual tree seedling sale will be April 21st and 22nd. January 20th, the Housing Redevelopment Authority met. Just some updates on the Housing Choice Voucher Program. We have 1,331 units allocated with 1,223 units leased. There are applications in progress as always, and we have about 800 people on the waiting list. The homeless and special needs housing, there are 22 units allocated with 3 vacancies. The Housing Management Division, which is public housing, we have 149 units for public family with 4 vacancies and nearly 1,000 on the waiting list, and 59 public senior units with 3 vacancies and 260 on the waiting list. The staff is preparing for the fiscal year 2022 CDBG and home application process. This, of course, involves review and update of program applications, guidelines, and the application schedule. Agent Advisory Board met January 21st. They elected new officers. Chairman is Donald Wood. Vice Chairman is Patty Aguilera. Secretary Dara Barraza. The Department of Aging is still encouraging phone appointments when possible, such as help filling out applications, medical appointments, and the assessment unit. For the other programs, the folks are still calling ahead to get the most of their questions answered in phone so they can keep personal visits short. The Protective Services unit is operating as normal. Senior citizen centers are close to normal. The Centenarian program has picked up 7 new applications. They range from people age from the range of 100 to 104. I wanted to share with you when asked what were some of their secrets to longevity. One was being around young people because they keep you young. Another individual answered being positive. And this is my favorite one here. Don't smoke and eat your green vegetables.
At the same time.
At the same time, yeah. And one gentleman's response was he had no clue. He's amazed. He's just amazed that he did it. I thought that was pretty good. Another thing, the Department of Aging is interested in a new program. They're just starting now to look into it. It's called Eco Housing. And what these are cottages. There's they're like a manufactured residence that would be placed on the yard of a host's home. The host can be any homemade odor that is considered natural support to the older adult. When the cottage is no longer needed, it's then moved to another host's property. So more to share with that a little bit later. The Blighted Property Reinvestment Board met January 20th. They elected officers as well. John Eby is the chairman. Lee Martin is the vice chairman. They revised some of their bylaws. And we had an application, a property located at 6588 Carlisle Pike in Hobestown, Silver Spring Township was referred to the board, and it was approved to be added to the Blighted Property Program. There's other properties that are on track. 420 Bosler Avenue in Des Moines, 318 4th Street in Summerdale, 45 Creekside Drive in Enola, 91 Beaver Avenue in Enola. And I believe that is it, Stacy.
All right, well, thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome.
I would like to report that an executive session was held on February 2nd, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. regarding personnel. And I'll ask if there's any other business to come before the board today. Hearing none, we are adjourned.